Hey guys, Anthony here. It is Saturday, November 20th, 2021. I'm here in the van today just doing a couple things. Just want to talk, another van talk video where I talk about a couple of different things that are on my mind. Some of them might be current events, some of them might be prepping related, and whatever else I think of. That's the purpose of the van talk videos. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is, go through, now that the colder weather is coming upon us. Many parts of the country have experienced snow and, a lot colder than we have down here, down in the south. I'm in the Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina area. It doesn't get super harsh here in this area, although it does get cold, a lot colder up in the mountain areas, but down in the where I am here, it stays relatively moderate, I guess you'd call it. I mean, it's cold to me in the winter because I spent 17 years in South Florida, so and I've been here since 2017, but not fully used to cold weather anymore, especially that I'm older now. So what I'm saying is, now that the cold weather's here, the winter's coming, take some time out to check your vehicle, your emergency bags, pull out winter clothing, long johns, wool socks, jackets. I think the other day I did a video showing I swapped out some stuff from the van from summer spring, took that out and put some stuff for fall winter in. So I've been doing that. I do a little bit each day, a little bit each week, and that way, if you ever are caught out on the road or you have to leave and go somewhere, you have something on board your vehicle that can sustain you to wherever you're going, or if you get stuck on the way there, or sidetracked or stopped, or there's a detour that came up, and you found yourself maybe stuck behind enemy lines, which isn't too hard to do today if you're in the cities, with all the good things that are going on in the country and around the world and in our cities, especially now after the the Kyle Rittenhouse trials. But we'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to, while I'm on the topic of swapping out clothing and hats and gloves and boots, been breaking in these 511 EVO 6 side zip boots, breaking them in so I could go for I think I'm almost ready to go for a nice, like a 5-mile hike with them, make sure they're good to go. So I've got on my darn tough socks, wool socks. The boots I've been breaking in now for about 2 weeks. I think they're ready for a hike. Yesterday I went to the podiatrist, the foot doctor. Every once in a while, I guess as you get older, sometimes your toes turn in a little bit, and depending on what kind of shoes I'm wearing, whether it's work or whatever, on my this time on my left pinky toe, I developed a little corn. And believe it or not, those little corns, when you try to hike or you walk any length of distance, if your shoes aren't fitting just right and that pressure from that corn is hitting the other toe, listen, that could bring down, it stop you in your tracks. I tell you that right now. And if you're trying to run or do any lengthy hike or walk, it's going to really hinder you. So I went and got that scraped down and yesterday, but also have a good supply of the little, these little pads that stick on your toes, different areas, and you could put them on, and it has a little circle you could punch out, and it'll relieve that pressure, especially if you have the corn already and you're caught behind enemy lines and you have to walk or hike. Make sure you have some of those in your kit or in your vehicle to put in between a troublesome toe or somewhere on your foot where you're not going to get that rubbing and that pressure, because that could stop you from getting from point A to point B. So little things like that you want to take care of now while there's some semblance of normalcy. I'll put that in open quotes. Another thing I have to do in regard to that is also, make sure my mic is on here, also get some dental work done. I've over the last couple years, I've had some teeth pulled, and my mouth's a little bit different. Things are a little bit quirky. I've got another tooth that's bothering me up here. So I haven't been, I had an appointment during the before the COVID lockdowns in 2020, and never been back since then. So I've got to go back hopefully next week, get like a cleaning, a checkup, review my x-rays, and see what kind of work I need to have done. The really important stuff I want to have done and behind me. Anything else that could wait, maybe it could wait, but I want to get as much done as I feasibly can, especially with my teeth, because something happens and the grid's down or something and you can't get to the dentist and you've got a problem. There's not a lot of things the normal kits are going to help you with. So try to get that stuff done now is what I'm saying. And then while I'm on the topic of stacking your car, your vehicle, in this case, it's my van. Yesterday I spent some time, you buy these little, Schneider pretzel, things in the store or grocery store or Costco, BJ's, and they got the pretzel rods or ruffle, whatever's in them, I save these or save some of them and I repurpose them. In this case, one of these mini pretzel holders, looks like about a gallon size, a little bit bigger, will hold a dozen ramen noodle packets. So yesterday I took out my old ramen noodles that I hadn't used. They were way past expiration, and what I did was I tossed out I probably could have salvaged the ramens. I just don't like the ramen itself. Tastes a little weird after it's way out of expiration date. But what I did was I cut the old packets open. These are the new ones. These are the top ramen. I think it was 3 and change for 12 of these. So I put 12 of those in here. They fit in, a dozen. And then on all the other ones, before I threw them out, I cut out the little packet, because the packets are good. That stuff lasts forever. That's like salt, the flavoring packet. That's sealed in like a Mylar bag. So I took all those out and I put them in a baggie, like you see here. There's a dozen of those, and I just threw them in here. Sometimes you might want to you're making a hot beverage, you don't have time to make actual ramen, but you want something that tastes like soup. You put one of these packets in a hot water, and you got like ramen soup without the ramen. And so I save those. So there's 12 of those in there. And that's simply, the lid's on it, they're protected, and I keep them handy. So if I'm making something on the stove here in the van, I've got a dozen ramen. A dozen ramen can go a long way in your vehicle for you and your passenger. If you get stuck with a dozen of these, water, a way to cook, fuel to cook with, and maybe some protein to add. These here are my favorite, wild mackerel by Wild Planet. To me, they're the best brand out on the market for this type of product. The wild mackerel here are the ones in olive oil. So you peel these back, and I got to do a video on this one day. These things are absolutely delicious. Very wholesome, filling, especially with the fat of the olive oil. You could eat it plain. You could put it on a salad, between bread. Put it in your soup if you wanted to. The ramen soup, to give a little meat to it, meaty taste. And they're high in protein. They're really good. And they're easy to pack. It's in one of those cans that you pull back. They are a little bit more than the regular mackerel, but it's hard to find these. So I carry a bunch of these in the van. So right now I think I got 6 or 8 of them in the van. And one of these actually will fill you up, I'm telling you. remember, the fat from like the olive oil gives you more calories per gram than carbohydrates or protein will. So that'll help you pack on the calories, especially when it's cold out. So a ramen and one of these with the ability to cook or heat up some water and fuel to heat your stove, and you're pretty much good to go with just something like this. Add in some oatmeal for like a morning time thing, and maybe keep some dry fruit and nuts to put in the oatmeal where you get the fats and stuff like that. A little maple syrup and you're good to go in your vehicle. You don't have to get fancy. You could keep, canned soups, which I have under the seat here. Canned chunky soups, whatever you like, Progresso, whatever it be. Stock it. Change it out if it needs to be changed out. If it's been sitting for a year or more, either eat it or swap it out for fresh stuff, and update your vehicle preps. Clothing, food, tools. That's another thing I'm going through. Do you have tools, basic stuff, a shovel? If it's winter, you need a snow shovel, the brushes to clean your window, your windshield fluid, the de-icer stuff that goes in your fluid so it doesn't freeze. Stuff like that. Go through your batteries. We went through and I changed out batteries in certain things yesterday. I spent a good part of the day updating all batteries in some devices that I have in and around the house, sensors and things like that. So just took a whole day and updated all the batteries, changed them out, make sure everything was working, and I did that. So that's one of the things I wanted to talk about today, and you can't stress it enough. I know you hear it a lot. Forgot I had that light here. It's that little switch light that I have here. The light's behind me. That's a solar light. This is a solar light here, and then this is a USB light by Goal Zero plugged into the van. So right now I'm off the grid, and I've got my van lit up pretty good for the video, and enough to see what I'm doing. Because even though it's daytime, a lot of my windows are blacked out here, and it gets a little dark, stays a little dark in here. So on the subject of the Rittenhouse trial, watched the verdict come in yesterday. I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised because with the amount of time they took to acquit him, I thought they were going to pull a fast one and find him guilty on certain charges to appease the left-leaning, socialist-leaning people in our country that are putting pressure on jurors and judges and threatening and doing all kinds of things that nobody seems to care about. People will talk about it. The right, the so-called right, or the media on the right, like Fox or Newsmax, they'll talk about it, they'll mention things, but nobody seems to have a solution to the problem. Why is it continuing to happen? We saw it all during the Trump presidency. Even before Trump was elected, I was doing videos on it. You can go back and look at, 2016, my videos prior to Trump. I was screaming that, where are the law enforcement? Where's all the investigations into these people that are threatening, supporters of Trump? And I'm not saying Trump was a great president. I'm not saying I did vote for him, but I would say this, without getting into a whole nother video, that Trump surprised me, just like Bush surprised me, or fooled me, let's put it that way. I'm pretty much certain now, although I did think there was a little bit of hope when Trump got in, that all presidents are selected, they're not really elected. And that goes for Trump as well. I think he was placed in the presidency at a time when they wanted certain things to go a certain way and be able to orchestrate some things, when I say they, I'm meaning the people that pull the strings. Let's put it that way, to keep the YouTube video going without getting taken down. But at any rate, so now we're seeing, and I didn't watch too much today because I was doing some prepping stuff, and I was on the phone with a YouTube friend that has a channel as well, and we were talking about some things I won't go into. But I've seen some videos of people looting in San Francisco, and these groups like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, hitting the streets. First of all, the case had nothing to do with black people. He defended himself, Kyle did, against white people that were trying to kill him, that were criminals, that were there causing mayhem and destruction. It's been proven and shown. The media, the devilish, sick, twisted media, twisted everything around on that case to get it to go a certain direction, up to and including leaking possible juror information. I think the judge was somewhat threatened or concerned about being threatened in the future. I know the defense attorneys they admitted it. I watched the press conference with one of the defense attorneys yesterday. I can't remember his name, but I watched the whole press conference, and he said he was threatened during, I guess, before, during, and after. So where is the FBI? Where is all this these great investigative bodies that supposedly we have in our country that are for law and order? Where is law and order is basically what maybe I want to ask in this video. Where is the law and order in America right now? Because if you ask me, based on what I've seen and what I'm seeing, there is not too much law and order in the country, except for what they want to portray, the one-sided issues they want to portray, and then go after people that really have done nothing as far as committing any crimes, and then blowing it out of proportion and calling it treason and overthrowing of the government and all this stuff. Meanwhile, for literally, it's actually more than 2 years, but let's say about 2 years now, the country's been on fire in certain areas of the country. It's been burnt down, looted, threatened, murders up, percentages that are off the charts. And yet, the mayors and the city leaders and state leaders of those states, counties, cities, go right along like nothing's the matter, like there's nothing wrong. There's nothing to see here, guys, just move along. Everything's going good. Yeah, if you're trying to push a certain agenda, it's going good. If you're trying to push America over the cliff into socialism, it's going good. If a vice president says that we have a lot more work to do when commenting on the Rittenhouse verdict, but yet will do nothing at all at the border, there is a problem in America. There's a problem with government. There's a problem with leadership. There's a problem with law enforcement or lack thereof. There's a problem with things being one-sided. There's a problem with this communist socialist mindset. There's a problem with major corporations going along with the problem or with the process. There's a lot of problems in this country, more so that I think can be fixed by, wait till 2022 or 2024. Friends, if we didn't address 2020 and what happened, and we think that 2022 and 2024 is going to be any different, you have another thing coming, because you're going to be quite surprised that you're actually wasting your time supporting these leaders that you think are for you, the people, the common man, but they're really not. So I'm not here to give answers, or this video is not, at least in this video, not to suggest answers, but to just talk about realistic things going on. What does our future look like in this country 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year down the road? Will there be supply chain shortages that are compounded and worse than what they are now? Will things get better on that end? Will leaders go from bad to worse? Will the border go from worse to worse, even worser, if that's a word? Will all of the, let's say, migrants being placed in and around the country, will that be a good thing or a bad thing, or no thing? Will disease spread, diseases that we haven't seen yet, crop up and spread? You know, you hear certain people, high-level people like Gates, talk about smallpox, and lo and behold, vials are found a couple of days after he talks about needing billions of dollars for a germ warfare thing. I mean, this video, I could go on for hours. I mean, it's like, so let it be written, let it be done. I mean, whatever they say is actually done, or pushed forward. You'll be happy and own nothing. Is that going to come to fruition? I think we're heading in that direction. Look at the banking sector. Look at the economic sector. Look at the real estate sector, the housing sector. Look at the numbers that are being fudged, the statistics that are being pushed they're just out and out lying. But it seems like everybody's in this, it seems like many people are in this comatose state, or a state where if they admit to what's really going on and what really needs done to stop it, it's well above their ability to even imagine it or think about it or even talk about it. So yet they'd rather stay in their cocoon, stay in their comatose state, and then go about their day and weeks and months and go from holiday to holiday and say, oh, I'm doing what I'm being told, I'm being safe, I'm listening to those above me, and I'm doing it for the common good. I'm doing it for the safety of all, and that's what I care about, my fellow man. When in fact, when you engage these people and talk to them about facts, they're anything but your fellow man. They become your fellow, a foe to you, an enemy to you. These are strangers. These are friends, or so-called friends, family, even, are being divided. I've seen it. I could do videos on these topics and talk about these topics, and I'm sure you in the comments can tell us and express your experiences and your concerns when it relates to that. So the very fabric of the country, I think, has already been torn. Now it's being burned to not be seen anymore, to turn to ashes, and then rising out of these ashes comes this new country that's more tolerant, has no borders, language and culture doesn't matter, as long as you are going along with the current trends, or the current talking points, or the current system, what the system is saying needs to be done, as long as you're going along with that and following through on your end, I think you're being told you'll be okay, but in the end, you're not going to be okay. It's not going to be okay. I'm here to tell you in this video, things are not going to be okay. In fact, I may entitle this video, Things Will Not Be Okay moving forward. They will not be. There won't be any normalcy that you and I are thinking of. There won't be anything that makes sense. There won't be any heads or tails of things. It'll be just like the Bible says, man tells himself what his itchy ears want to hear. People will leave in droves from the truth, if you will, and pursue this false truth, this other truth that is promising them something that they think they're going to get out of it, and it's really going to amount to nothing in the end. It's really going to amount to what can be called hell in the end for these people. And many of them are religious people. Maybe they go to church. I'm not talking that everyone is a criminal. These are regular, could be termed regular people. But they're going down the road. They're following the wrong road. The road that's going to lead to change for the better is very, very narrow. In fact, it's getting narrower each and every week that passes. So to stay on that path, for those of us that don't want to swerve to the left or to the right, or get on that broad path that looks really good on paper and in our itchy ears what they're hearing, but it's not going to amount to anything in the end. In fact, it's going to amount to, like I said, hell or going off a cliff, or that. Think of that. Just think of the broad road that leads to death. Eventually, it's going to lead to death. Physically, possibly physically, sooner than what you think. And then spiritually, death as well, which is separation from Yahweh, from the Almighty, forever and ever and ever and ever, for eternity. But those of us that stay on this narrow road, it's going to be very, very difficult times. I saw a vision of this when the COVID first came out. I saw in my spirit destruction. I kept seeing, every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing devastation, some type of devastation, some type of evil being perpetrated. And that I saw families being ripped apart that were once pretty tight, friendships breaking. I saw it. I kept a lot of it to myself. A lot of it's written in my journals, my Bible study journals. And we could go back and look. Recently I saw had a dream. It was after that, that devil worshiping ceremony that sacrificed people, Travis Scott concert, a few weeks ago, I guess it was. After that, I think it was that night, I had a terrible dream that was very realistic, and I woke up and wrote in my journal about it. And I saw and I encountered evil in that dream. I encountered evil so evil that in the dream, in order to survive, I ended up screaming out to this entity that was holding me hostage. I screamed out to him, and this was very, very real in the dream. I screamed out that I am on the side of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus, the Messiah. I said, He is fighting for me. I am on His side. You have no hold on me in this place where you have me now. You have no hold on me here. You have no rights to me here. In fact, I don't know who and what you are, but if you embrace Yeshua now, there may be a chance for you as well. But what happened in the dream, and I won't go over the whole thing, maybe I'll do a separate video on it, but this entity let me go. In fact, he let me go. The person I was with was not let go. They disappeared. I can't remember who I was with. It was a friend or a family member. They were out of the picture by then. They were already gone. So I don't know if they were swallowed up or sent somewhere else. But this entity pointed to a ladder, a staircase that was not there prior to me mentioning the name of Jesus to him, and showed me a way up and out. And I went up the stairwell like a ladder type, fire escape type stairwell, through a hatch, and I ended up on street level in a community with the sun out, with stores open. Walked to a diner, or outside of what I think it was a diner. Sat down, I had no shoes on. And at the end of the dream, this is the end, a little girl came up to me with her mom and dad with her. They were actually, I think they were going to go into the diner. And she was trying to help me, telling her parents, he has no shoes, he needs our help. But the moral of the story is, I was let go from an evil entity in this dream, that when I mentioned 100% power, almighty power and righteousness that had nothing to do with any physical strength that I had to fight him off, when I mentioned the name, he immediately lost all power and hold upon me. And so when I say this road is narrow, it's very narrow. Not any name that you mention is going to get you that kind of attention. There's only one name above all names that's going to get you that attention. And I think you know where I'm headed with this. Only one name and only one road there is. The very fact that there is a road that leads to righteousness, that leads to glory, that leads to victory over all of these earthly entities and enemies, it leads to victory eventually. But these other roads, maybe there's more than one, but they're broad. They lead to temporary victory that they're making you think there's a victory. And they're not, because they're controlling those roads. They don't control the narrow road. There's no rights to them on the narrow road. They have no being there, no rights being there. But if you're on that narrow road, is what I'm saying in this video to end it here. Stay on the narrow road. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay focused on the end result, which is victory. Even though we may be losing battles now, we may end up losing this country for what we thought it once stood for. I think we're going to lose the country. If not, we've already lost it. But that doesn't mean the battle. It means a battle might be lost. It doesn't mean the war is over. So stay on the narrow road. Continue to do what you're doing. Continue to think about what you need and what your family needs to be well positioned and prepared to stay on the narrow road. And then seek the Almighty above all for strength and guidance and angelic help to sustain you while you're fighting and walking on and on that road. that narrow road. Last video I did in the van, I talked about the yellow brick road where it led to destruction. That's the one they want you on. That's the one they want you on. So thanks for joining me, guys, for this van talk. Anthony signing off. Please like and subscribe, comment. Let me know your thoughts, your experiences. Maybe some of you have been having some visions or seeing some things that you want to talk about or write about. Feel free to do it. Have a great weekend, a safe weekend. Don't fall for the propaganda you're hearing. Continue to seek the Almighty with all your heart and strength. Continue to love Him with all your heart, strength, soul, and might. And continue to help your neighbor. Continue to reach out. Because there's always hope. There's always hope because the Almighty can change hearts and minds like that. And He can raise up what seems to be an enemy and cause that enemy to do something good, like letting the Hebrew people, the Israelites, go back and rebuild the walls and rebuild Jerusalem and Judah in Book of Ezra and Nehemiah. So the Almighty raises up sometimes people that are seemingly or do bad things, but can end up doing things to get His will done. So that's always should be in your mind as well. Thanks for joining me, guys. Take care. Stay ready. Anthony signing off.